but some to almost every creator says this at some point. I just need to be more consistent. And honestly, I get it. When your channel feels stuck, when you disappear for a while, or when you have ideas, but somehow nothing actually gets uploaded, consistency feels like the obvious answer. You think if I could just upload every week, if I could just stop overthinking, or if I could finally become disciplined enough, then maybe this whole thing would start moving. And yes, consistency matters a lot. But I think most creators misunderstand what consistency actually means on YouTube. Because consistency is not just posting more, it is not just forcing a schedule because some productivity guy told you that you need to upload 3 times a week. It is not becoming this perfect machine that wakes up every day ready to write, record, edit, to make thumbnails, to publish, to analyze and repeat. That sounds nice in theory, yes, but in real life, especially when you are still early, that version falls apart very, very quickly. Most creators are not inconsistent because they are lazy. They are inconsistent because their process is too heavy to survive the actual life. I know this from building Riova here too. I want the videos to be good, pretty good. I want the message to be as real and as authentic as possible. I want the titles to work, the thumbnails to make sense, the script to feel human, the series to have direction, and the whole channel to actually help someone out there and provide some kind of value. And that care is good. But if I am not careful, that same care makes every video feel massive. Suddenly, it is not just recording one video, it becomes the script, the camera, the lighting, the thumbnail, the analytics, the retention, the future of the channel. And this weird little voice asking, is this even going to work? And at that point, of course, consistency feels hard. The videos became heavy before I even pressed record. That is what this episode here, this episode you're watching right now is really about. This whole series you are currently in is the Creator Reality. A series about what it actually feels like to build something on YouTube, not the polished version where every creator is always inspired and everything looks aesthetic, but the real version, the awkward one, the version where you want to upload, but the file is still sitting there, the version where you open the script and suddenly feel weirdly tired, the version where you have a good idea, but then you turn it into such a big thing in your head that you avoid it for 3 days. The first mistake I want to talk about you is that creators define consistency emotionally. They think consistency means always feeling ready, always having energy, always being clear, always being in the mood to create. But that is not real. Sometimes you feel connected to the idea. Other days you record the first sentence and immediately think, whoa, this sounds terrible. Some weeks you feel like a creator, other weeks you feel like a random person pretending to have a channel. That is normal. That is not proof that you are not made for this. That is just part of the creator reality. Real consistency is not about never losing rhythm. It is about returning without turning every interruption into a full reset of your life and your business idea or your YouTube channel. That is the part most people miss. You have one good week where everything flows, and then one messy where life gets in the way. The idea feels flat, or the edit takes longer than expected, and suddenly you think you lost it. So you disappear. And then after a while, you need this big dramatic comeback. New plan, new schedule, new identity, new promise to yourself. But the creators who last are not the ones who never wobbled. They are the ones who come back without making the comeback a whole emotional event. That is why your process matters more than your motivation. If your process only works when you feel amazing, it is not a system, it is a burst. A burst can feel powerful for a weekend. You can get inspired, record few things, maybe even feel unstoppable for a moment. But YouTube is not built on one motivated weekend. It is built on what you can return to next week, next month, and the month after that. A channel needs a rhythm that can survive normal days, not just perfect days. So if you keep disappearing, do not immediately attack your character. Look at the process. Is the recording too annoying? Is the edit too heavy? Is your setup too complicated? Are your scripts too long for the energy you actually have right now? Are you making every video carrying the emotional weight of your entire creator identity? Because the last one is real. A lot of new creators do not treat a video like a video. They treat it like proof that they are talented, that people care, that they are interesting enough, proof that this whole thing is worth continuing. And when one upload carries that much weight, no wonder it feels hard to make. This is also where ego quietly gets involved. Not in a bad way, in a very human way. You want your work to look serious. You want the channel to feel legitimate, you know? You want every video to represent the creator you are trying to become. So you add more layers, more planning, more polishing, more editing, more pressure. And at some point, the process becomes so serious that it becomes hard to enter. You think you're raising your standards, but sometimes you are just making the door way heavier. Early creators usually do not need more complexity, they need less friction, less setup, less overthinking, less emotional weight on every upload. That does not mean your standard should be low. It means your standard should be survivable. A low standard says it does not matter. But a survivable standard says it matters, but I need to build this in a way I can actually repeat over time. That might mean simpler editing for now, a repeatable format, a recording setup that stays ready, a scripted style that does not take 5 mental breakdowns to finish it, not because you do not care, but because you care enough to make the process sustainable for yourself. And honestly, this is where I am learning to right now. Sometimes I want every Riova video here to feel deep, polished, aligned, meaningful, and strong. But if every single video here becomes this giant mountain, the channel becomes harder to return to. And the point is not to suffer for the upload. The point is to create something honest, useful enough, and repeatable enough that the channel can stay alive on the long term. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Because a channel that stays alive can improve. A channel that constantly collapses under its own pressure cannot. So the question is not how much can I force this week? The real question is what can I keep doing without breaking the process? And that question changes everything. Maybe you can upload 3 times in a perfect week, but can you still do it when the week is average? When your energy is normal? When one video underperforms? When the first take is awkward? Or when life is not perfectly clean? If the answer is no, then maybe the plan is not a plan. Maybe it is just an emotional high with a calendar attached. The creator who uploads one video a week for 6 months will usually learn more than the creator who uploads 5 videos in 2 weeks and then disappears because the process became too much. And this is not about the exact numbers. Consistency is not a streak, it is a relationship with the work. You show up, you miss sometimes, you return, you learn, and you adjust. You keep the thread alive. That is what turns someone from a person with a channel into an actual creator. And if this speaks to you, the Creator Reality playlist is where I talk about more of the side of YouTube. The awkward parts, the emotional pressure, the overthinking, the weird feeling of posting something and wondering if anyone out there even cares. If you are starting a channel or if you are trying to take yourself serious as a creator, go through the other episodes too. Not as random motivation, but as way to feel less alone in the process and understand what you are actually signing up for. But let's get back to the video. How do you become more consistent without destroying yourself? Start simply by finding the heaviest part of your process, not the whole channel, just the part that makes you avoid the next upload. If recording is the bottleneck, make recording easier. If editing is the bottleneck, simplify the edit until the point you can hire an editor, for example. If ideas are the bottleneck, keep a small idea list that can actually use. If emotional pressure is the bottleneck, remind yourself that one video is not the final judgment of your entire future. It is one rep, one attempt, one piece of data, and one step in the process. Then you need to choose a rhythm you can actually return to. Not the rhythm that sounds impressive, the rhythm that works in real life. Maybe that is one video a week. Maybe it is one video every 10 days or a single format first before you build something more complex. The point is not to look like a full-time creator before your life supports that. The point is to build a process that allows you to become one over time. Consistency on YouTube is not about pushing harder until you break. It is about making the channel easier to return to, even when your energy is imperfect, even when the first take is awkward, or even when one upload does not perform. That is the real creator skill. Not never failing or falling off, coming back without making it dramatic. So before you blame yourself again, look at the system. Maybe you're not inconsistent because you do not care. Maybe the process is just too heavy right now. Make it lighter, make it repeatable, make it human, and then keep returning. That is how you stop restarting every few weeks and slowly become the kind of creator you actually stays.